This past weekend, I saw a lot of talk on social media by fans saying that Dover was saved by having such a great race. And while I know that a lot of us have talked about it before when it comes to just fans talking about it or reckless speculation, I hadn't really seen anything that was about that from reliable sources that would say or at least lead us to thinking this, aside from just the way it was trending. And that also got me thinking, what changes are going to be on the schedule next year? Because we're now into the month of May. We're starting to get in that point where we're going to start hearing more and more about the 2023 NASCAR schedule. So today, I want to go over 7 possible changes that could happen with the 2023 NASCAR schedule. Spoiler alert, I don't think anything's going to happen with Dover for at least a year or so. First off into this, I think we're going to be going back into the Chicago market in one way or another. And this is in one of 2 ways. Number 1 is the Chicago street course. NASCAR has said for a long time that they would like to go into more metropolitan areas. And we've also seen with the LA Clash that it can work. It can work to go to the fans and bring in a normally small audience and make that a bigger audience for said race. And I think that NASCAR could do this by doing the Chicago street course. This was first conceptualized and shown to the masses in 2021 when it was part of the iRacing League for NASCAR that it had during the COVID pandemic. And it's something that they've been really trying to work with a lot over the last few years. Then you have the Chicagoland Speedway. This is what the majority of NASCAR fans want when it comes to Chicago market. Chicagoland Speedway has been a track that over the years aged like fine wine. With great finishes and great moments in the Gen 6 era, it's left a great taste in everybody's mouths. And with it gone, a lot of people are longing to bring it back. There has been good news about this. While the initial plans that had been in place are going of selling part of the land, that I will be real, as someone who went to Chicagoland Speedway can tell you was barely being used, that's still not the end of the world. There's some good stuff. According to local radio stations and news stations, it looks like Chicagoland Speedway is actually trying to hire more people on. And the Joliet government is in active talks with NASCAR about bringing the sport back to the track. So one way or another, I think we're going to see Chicago in the NASCAR schedule in 2023. Whether it's the streets or the speedway is yet to be seen. Next up, I think we're going to see changes with Portland International Speedway. NASCAR is wanting to go out west, and the Northwest is an untapped market for NASCAR. I think that while they're going to have the trucks there this year, that's not going to be enough, especially for such a long trek out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if dates got moved around and the Xfinity and maybe even Cup Series got moved out there. It fits NASCAR's narrative of wanting to go out there to new markets, to the Northwest, as well as fitting the narrative that NASCAR wants more road courses with the next-gen car, which is in part designed for road courses. Now, I'm going to fly completely in the face of that with my next point, and I think that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is going to see one major change, and that is the road course going back to the oval. Listen, I went to the road course race last year. I'm probably going to go this year. I thought it was a great success when it came to on-track product. But the problem is that the TV ratings did not reflect it. And from what most people I know that were in Indy that I talked to said is that, well, it was a smaller crowd than years past. So there's a large contingent of fans too that want the old Brickyard 400 back. And I think seeing how the rumors are that Roger Penske is pushing for that, it's going to happen in 2023. The ratings don't lie, and these were abysmal for Indianapolis standards. Now, while there might be a return to tradition there, I think that NASCAR is going to try and branch out in other ways as well. I think that whether it's one of the top 3 series or whichever, if it's Canada or Mexico, NASCAR is going to be international racing soon. The COVID pandemic is finally tapering down, and with that, NASCAR theoretically could go to different countries again if they wanted to. It's easier now than it was in 2020 especially, but also 2021 and even 2022 with Canada. I think that as things lighten up, NASCAR is going to be aggressive in trying to build up that foreign market. In a branch to try and get younger fans, NASCAR could look towards shorter races. I know that most diehards don't want to hear about this, but if you want to bring people in and you want a clear, concise, tight storyline in a race, shorter races might be the way to go. And I think two tracks in particular are actually the biggest openings for this. Number one, Atlanta. The 500-mile Atlanta race for a super speedway took a long time. And even people that liked the race said it dragged on for a bit. And I think that in order to keep that tighter window together, they might have two 400-milers next year, or if they have one race, it would be a 400-miler. This is very similar to what Auto Club Speedway did at the start of the 2010s, and I see this as history repeating itself. And another one, just to make the fans happy, because it doesn't need a 500-mile date, Texas. I don't think I have to say much more. Now, I also think that NASCAR is going to want to take complete executive control of just about anything they can. And I think they're going to try and take more control from independently owned tracks. And chief among them, I think, is Pocono. If you look at the trajectory of Pocono Raceway, it's a lot worse because it's not owned by one of the main companies that has the tracks in the NASCAR schedule. It's in a much worse path than people would think. Think back to 2011. It was 2 dates, 500 miles. Then those dates got shrunk down to 400 miles. Then, about a decade later, NASCAR moved it to one doubleheader weekend just to get it out of the way. And now it looks to be a 350-mile race, and it's only one race in that weekend, and it's just sort of moved to where it's convenient for other dates to be. I think that Pocono could get moved to a less convenient date if it means NASCAR can branch out in some way or another. And seeing how it's an independent track, they really can't fight too much on what NASCAR wants to do. NASCAR is pretty much the be-all, end-all of somewhere like Pocono. And I think this is going to be a trend that we see a lot as the schedule is going to flip-flop around a lot. And then the last one, of course, has to be about the finale. I know that Phoenix Raceway has been a track that's been revamped over the years, but I think that NASCAR fans have grown stale of a relatively boring track in a lot of fans' eyes, deciding the champion. And looking at Homestead Miami Speedway, I think we're going to see another change. NASCAR has seen a huge ratings drop with Phoenix compared to Homestead, and I think that maybe in a way to boost it at the end of the current TV deal and in a way to get more investors in when it comes to other broadcasters, this might be a move they can play to show people in the short term that they're a viable option to bring along. And on top of that, it has much better racing than Phoenix does. Now, those are 7 possible changes that could happen with the 2023 NASCAR schedule. I don't know if any of them will happen. I think I want some of them to happen, maybe not all, but now I want to hear what you think. What changes do you want to see on next year's NASCAR schedule? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you to all of my channel members for your continued support. And be sure to watch tomorrow night on my channel at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Should be a really fun show. We have an executive from Goodyear coming on, as well as M&M Cup Series. So, until next time, have a good one.